Hello, everybody. The purpose of this video is to help you prepare and pass the U.S. history exam. Let me share my screen so we can get started with this video. I am a history teacher at Garfield High School in Los Angeles, and I've been teaching AP US history for about 15 years. And I've been a College Board reader, AP exam reader for about 13 years now. Okay, so I've graded all parts of the exam. And well, not the multiple choice, of course, not the DBQs and SAQs and LEQs. So my purpose is to help you understand the test, get more comfortable, and believe in yourself, to pass this AP exam. So APUSH exam, tips for success and overview. Mr. Garcia, this is my email in case you want to send me an email, and I'll be happy to send you a copy of my Google Drive resources for APUSH. Let's get started. So this exam, guys, you guys can pause this page if you need to read it more carefully, but this exam is going to test your skills and your knowledge of history, okay? It lasts about 3 hours and 15 minutes. These are the time periods covered in this test. There are 9 of them from 1491, when these lands were inhabited by Native American people, and they had a civilization, cultures, languages, traditions, economic systems, etc. Okay, so 1481 all the way to the present. Okay, so these are the weights of the test. Just be comfortable with everything. The more you know, the greater chances of success you have. Study, study, study. So this exam has 4 parts: the MCQ, ACQ, DBQ, and the LEQ. The first 2 parts is part A, so you do these 2 sections, and then you have a 15-minute break to go to the restroom, stretch, and then you come back to the testing room and you do the DBQ and the LEQ. Total is 3 minutes, 3 hours and 15 minutes. So the skills that you need to pass this test are very simple. You guys see this in APUSH, or you will see them in APUSH. Historical context, what's going on in the time period, what's going on economically, politically, socially, etc. Intended audience. So who were these sources intended for? Was it a speech to the members of Congress or the military, etc.? Purpose. What is the purpose of this flyer? The purpose of this propaganda poster? The point of view. Does this person agree or disagree with U.S. expansion, or they agree or disagree with going into World War I? So you're looking at those skills. And the essay questions will be about causation, cause and effect, continuity and change over time. So how things were similar or different across different time periods. Think about the Civil War. How were things before the Civil War and after the Civil War? What were some changes and some continuities? And it's an example. And comparison, comparing similarities and differences, and which of those similarities were greater or differences were greater and why. So these are the skills that you guys need to pass the AP test. It's not so much about memorization, it's about critical thinking. It's about you explaining why things happen, and whether or not there were greater changes for the greater well-being of the country, or greater challenges that show us that probably we were not heading in the right direction at the time. Okay, so it's about skills. An example of skills is this. You guys can pause the video, but this is a historical document. Obviously, it has a political meaning because the country is currently very divided over ICE and immigration enforcement in the US. So this poster here, or this flyer, you can analyze it and think about the historical context, the audience, the purpose, point of view, outside information, and then this can help you interpret history. Because at the end, remember, guys, it's not about memorization; it's about understanding. Think about the history of the U.S. like the history of a young country that started with mosquito-infested Jamestown as a British colony, and then 300 years later becomes a developed country that perhaps is the most powerful country in the world. How did that happen? And that's the story that you are tracing throughout APUSH. Okay, so let's begin our sections. MCQ. The first part of the test, guys, is super important. That's the multiple choice section. This is a stimulus-based questions. There are 55 questions. Most MCQs are tied to primary, secondary sources or visuals. So there might be a political cartoon, there might be a map, there might be some excerpts of historical documents, either primary or secondary sources. What you guys are going to be tested is about sourcing. Think about like who made it, when, and why. So again, we're going back to the HIPPO, historical thinking skills. Think about context. What was happening during that time period, this historical situation, using evidence, matching a claim to what the source actually shows. Sometimes you will have to read the source because it's going to ask you for the point of view or the purpose of this excerpt. So you have to look for that. So it's a lot of skills that go into this test, but there are also traps, and you have to be careful with those traps. The first one is answers that are true, but don't answer the question asked. As you can get confused by reading some of the options, A, B, C, D, and some of them can be true, but look at the question. Always look at the question and make sure that you understand what is the question asking you to do. And that's where you are going to align yourself. So don't go for the correct answer. Probably there will be like two correct responses or sometimes three correct responses in a multiple choice option. But don't fall into this trap. Make sure the answer is answering the question being asked. Um, Maybe wrong time period. Uh, so they're going to give you a correct response, but in the wrong time period. Pay attention to those details in the MCQ section. I love Lincoln here listening to music. Well, not a technology for the time period, okay? Don't get tricked. Okay, radios were not invented until the 1920s. Okay, more tips for success for the MCQ. Okay, fast, reliable habits. Use a three-step formula. You can use any formula you want, but read the question first. Identify the task. Cause, effect, comparison, interpretation. What is the question asking you to do? Um, Maybe you need to read the stimulus. Sometimes you don't need to read it completely if you know the attribute, if you know the author, the date, etc. So look for key information like date, author, the audience, the purpose, the situation. Um, Scan the stimulus in case you need to scan it and or sometimes read it carefully. Then eliminate two choices quickly. Okay. Eliminate the ones that are out of the time period or completely wrong. And then choose the best answer, the most likely to be correct. Then this will increase your chances of scoring well on the multiple choice. Anchoring time. If you can identify the approximate decade, you can often narrow answers dramatically. It's like history is like a timeline. So you're looking at cause and effect, and the questions will take you all across the time periods in APUSH. So it's good for you to look at history like a movie. What happened first, second, third, fourth, and who are the good guys and who are the bad guys, and why things are the way they are right now. So you're finding like an explanation. It's like a domino effect. One thing leads to another. Okay, so make sure you're able to understand your time periods and how things change over time. Um, Proof test your pick. Point to specific phrase or detail in the stimulus that supports your answer. Yes, go back after you select the right answer and go back to the question and go and figure it out. Is this answer answering that question? If you are 100% sure, leave it alone. If you are iffy about it and you feel like, well, maybe this is the wrong answer, well, don't change it unless you're 100% sure that you have the right answer. Okay? Otherwise, just leave it like that. Just go with your instinct. Pacing goal. It's about 1 minute per question. Don't get stuck. Mm, uh, so 1 minute per question. Just keep going. In the testing room, you guys should have a timer on the screen and make sure you are making good progress in your multiple choice. If you're running out of time at the end, just answer every question because you don't get penalized for wrong responses. Okay, our goal is to get about 70% correct on the multiple choice. Okay, if you are doing that in your mock exams, you're on fire. You're amazing. Okay, this is an MCQ sample. So questions will look like this. For example, question 5 to 7 refer to the excerpt below, and then there's question 5, 6, and 7. I'm not going to show the other two. But this is an example. So first thing you do is read the question first. Examples of actions that responded to Senator Bruce's plea in the excerpt included the. So we have to read the excerpt because we're looking for actions that responded. So things that happened after um, Senator Bruce's plea. So what is he pleading for? Okay, we need to be able to read the excerpt. And then the second tip was kind of stimulus. So we got to look through the stimulus. So what is the plea that Senator Bruce is asking for? And what actions uh, are going to respond to what's going on in the excerpt? Okay. And then we're going to eliminate some responses. I'll let you guys answer this question on your own, and then on the chat, I'm sorry, not on the chat, on the messages, just give me your response, okay? And I'll let you know if it's correct or not correct, okay? So this is the MCQ. The next section is the SAQ, short answer question. So three SAQs total. Question one, two are required, plus one choice. Expect three problems. So the third question is a choice. You have two questions and choose one. At the end, you're writing three. Each is usually has three parts, A, B, and C, worth 1 point each. If you leave it blank, it will be marked as NR, no response, which is a zero. Okay, so write something and just try your best. Try your best. Prompts may use a short excerpt or graphic, or the third question has no stimulus. The first question usually has two stimulus that you have to compare two different points of view, different historical interpretations. The second question has a stimulus, either a cartoon or a primary or secondary document. And then the third question, there's no stimulus. It's just the questions. Okay, so you choose one of those two. At the end, you're writing three SAQs. So what the graders want is clear, specific, historically accurate statements, not full essays. Look for the key terms, identify, describe, or explain one. Stay to one if they ask you to explain one. Don't go too much, okay? Say what it is in a specific detail. Explain, show how or why, cause and effect or reasoning. Answer the question, guys. Look at the question and make sure you answer all parts of the question with specific evidence. I know many students struggle with this because the SAQ section, they want you to be specific, okay? So these are the tips for success. Oh, I love this cat dancing here. SAQ tips for success, how to earn points efficiently. ACE, this is what I use with my students. It's fast and clear. So A, answer the question, answer it directly. Okay, one strong sentence. C, cite specific evidence, law, event, person, group, movement, court case. Explain what it is. Okay, cite the evidence, be specific. Okay, and then explain how this evidence supports the answer to the question. Okay, be specific. Um, if you say industrialization, well, that's very broad. You can say the growth of railroads and steel in the 1870s and 1890s. That's more specific, okay? Or the Gilded Age, which included, the growth of big business and railroads, such as, Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller. So you're becoming a little bit more specific in your responses and uh, just mention those historical terms, okay? Yes, use targeted vocabulary, exactly. This is why vocab is so important. Use terms like nativism, containment, market revolution, Jim Crow laws, progressivism, whatever the question is asking you to do, come up with one historical term during that time period that helps you answer that question and explain what it is, okay? Do not assume the reader knows what you're talking about. Avoid fluff, no long intros, conclusions, write it tight, point focus sentences. If you're struggling with this is a sentence starter for ACE. You can pause the video and you can implement this strategy for your responses. Usually it can be about three sentences. So answer the question, cite evidence, explain. Okay, and you can have the same structure for your SAQs, and it will be easier for you to answer these questions. An example is right here. So again, tips for these SAQs, read the question first. Briefly explain one major difference between Murin and Kennedy's historical views of President John F. Kennedy. Well, okay, so you got to read the two interpretations. And briefly explain how one development from the period 1960 to 1963, not directly mentioned in the excerpt, supports Murin's view. Okay, so again, testing skills. You got to know your history. Okay, and then briefly explain how one development from the period 1960 1963 not directly mentioned in the excerpt, supports Kennedy's view. Um, Stay within the time periods that they're asking you for. Okay. So that's why it's very important to study APUSH. So this is an example how question one is going to look. Okay. And you're in your AP exam. And this is an example how question two is going to look. You have a political cartoon in this case, and then you have the three questions. This is directly testing your historical thinking skills, point of view, seeing the perspective, and then briefly explain one historical development that led to the issues illustrated in the image. Again, you're looking into historical context and cause and effect. Okay, so these are all the questions have to do with the HIP skills. Okay, so SAQ sample. DBQ, the next section is you write an essay that answers a prompt using provided documents, plus your own knowledge. Typical, you have 7 documents, includes text, charts, images. Now, these documents are organized in chronological order. Okay, so the core skills, they're going to test contextualization, thesis, evidence, sourcing, and complexity. Now, these skills are based on the rubric. I put a copy of the rubric over here, and you guys can pause it if you want to read more in detail, but I made it simple for you. The first point is context. The second point is thesis. The third point is 3 docs to address the prompt. Then 4 documents to support an argument. This is the fourth point. 2 HIP of documents. So you HIP 2 documents, historical context, intended audience, purpose, point of view. Evidence beyond the documents. So outside evidence, I'm sorry, put evidence. Yeah, evidence beyond documents. So things that are not in the documents that you can explain and elaborate on. Okay. And then complexity or 4 HIPs. You can also do 4 HIPs, and then that gives you the point for the complexity. And total, it will be 7 points. If you understand the rubric, you will succeed in writing a good DPQ because you're writing with a purpose. And the purpose is to get as many points as possible. Okay. So I'll be doing another video to go over how to keep and cite documents in a DBQ. Okay. So this is the rubric. You need to know the rubric, understand the rubric. Next one, tips for success for APUSH. You will have 1 hour, 60 minutes to do the DBQ. So use 15 minutes of reading the documents wisely. Okay. Read the prompt, underline the task. Is it asking you to evaluate the extent, compare, analyze the causes? Um, quick sort documents into 2 categories. Usually you will have 2 categories. Let's say you have a question about the New Deal after the Great Depression. So some documents will probably be supporting the New Deal as being successful and effective in dealing with the Great Depression. And then some other documents will be questioning the success of the New Deal. So you are categorizing the documents, and that way that will help you to create your thesis because then you know what kind of evidence you have for your writing. Okay, so create like buckets, like categories for your documents. Write a thesis with a because structure and claim line of reasoning. So just make sure your thesis, you're making a claim and you have reasons to support your claim. Okay. Document use goal. Aim to use most documents meaningfully. Do not quote them. Avoid long quotes in the documents. You can cite the documents and refer to the documents, but avoid long quotations. Okay. Show us that you are understanding what the document's main idea is. Sourcing moves. Choose a few documents to source well. So this is going to be for the HIP, okay? Um, so this can help you with the analysis of the documents. Okay, so from the purpose of Benjamin Franklin's political cartoon Join or Die was to, okay, or from the point of view of Benjamin Franklin, um, this political cartoon Join or Die um, signify whatever. Okay, so you need to use the historical thinking skills. Outside evidence. Add 1 or 2 specific facts not in the documents. Acts, events, leaders, historical situations. Then strengthen your categories. Okay, use a key term vocabulary, and then just if you explain how that helps you to answer the question, and that evidence is not in the documents, you're going to get that point for outside evidence. Okay, so make sure you have like 1 or 2. Be safe to have 2. You only need 1 to get the point. Okay. but that will really help you to succeed in your test. These statements, you guys can pause this if you guys want to, but these are formulas to writing a good thesis statement. You will need this for your DVQ and your LEQ. Okay. Uh, the DVQ questions from past AP exams are the following. So 2021, this is the question: evaluate the extent to which economic growth led to changes in United States society in the period 1940 to 1970. Economic growth. Notice how the questions are very broad and they all begin the same way. Evaluate the extent to which, evaluate the extent to which. So be very comfortable with this kind of questions. These are the last five DBQ questions. So this is after Civil War, before Civil War, after the Civil War, before Civil War, after Civil War. So what's going to happen for 2026? My guess is that will be before Civil War. Okay. So just following the pattern in the questions that they ask you previous years. Okay. So these are some example DBQ questions. What I would do, I would practice writing essay introductions for these questions. Make sure you get the context and the thesis. Okay. And then check with your teacher or peers to make sure you got the points. Okay. And if you didn't get them, well, fix them. Okay. LEQ, long essay question. This is the last part of the test. You choose one prompt out of three and write a full historical argument without documents. This is all you, your knowledge. Skills tested, thesis, contextualization, evidence, reasoning, change continuity over time, comparison. Again, same skills. The, uh, the winning structure is simple and effective. Number one, the introduction. Context, 3 to 4 sentences plus a thesis statement. This is your intro. Body paragraphs, 2 to 3 body paragraphs, each with a topic sentence. And then this is where you include all your evidence. And then your last paragraph is the complexity. Do not write a conclusion. You do not get credit for a conclusion. Just add your critical thinking. Okay. So acknowledge an exception, limitation, similarity, difference, or connection across time periods without losing your main argument. This is the critical thinking aspect. This is a complexity. Okay. So let's say you get a question about the stay with the Great Depression and the New Deal. Okay. So maybe you can write about something that is not very common knowledge during that time period, or you can compare this to what's going to happen after the Great Depression, or what ended the Great Depression, which is in essence World War II. Okay. And how this was the stimulus the economy needed, to get out of the Great Depression due to the war production and the soldiers being sent to World War II, and how yes, the New Deal was probably effective in temporarily resolving the causes of the Great Depression, but ultimately it was not a permanent solution. Okay, so you can add complexity of ideas. Another example, like this, you get a question about World War One, you can and how the U.S. responded in domestic affairs and civil liberties, and you can compare that to what happened during World War II. Okay, again, similar situations across different time periods. Evidence rule. Use name, precise examples, not vague generalities. Answer the question. Make sure you answer the question. Time management, save 3 to 5 minutes to reread, and add specifically dates and acts and groups. Add specific details. This is the rubric for the LEQ. You can pause it to get more details, but the first point is context. Second point, thesis. Third point is 2 specific examples relevant to the prompt. The fourth point is 2 examples to support an argument, okay, that you're making. So you need to make an argument and be able to support it with these examples. Analysis, historical reasoning skill. So this is what the skill is. What is the question asking you to do? Is that if the question is asking you for comparison, are you comparing, contrasting? If the question is asking you for causes and effects, are you explaining causes and effects? So this is the skill, okay? Make sure you address the skill that the question is asking you to do. And then this is the complexity. I already explained the complexity here. So total is 6 points. This is the LEQ. More tips for success for the LEQ, and this also will help you for the DBQ. Break down the prompt. Look for the verb. What is the prompt asking you to do? Look for the skill. What are the thinking skills that you are asked to do, the parameters, what years is the question asking you to focus on, what topic, what, who, when, and where. And you will always evaluate. All the questions sound the same, guys. Evaluate the extent to which, evaluate the extent to which. So was it greater success or very limited success to a greater extent? Or and you need to make that this distinction. Okay, so this is an example. You guys can pause this and go over, what you're really looking for, whether more positive or negative um, situations or causes or effects, comparison. So which were a greater similarity or greater differences, and why those things happen that way, and change the continuity over time. So what things change, what things stay the same, and why, or which of these was more significant than another. Okay, so again, you're looking for critical thinking skills. So categories of historical knowledge. So the questions will be about causation, comparison, or continuity and change. So if you're doing causation, do like a little graphic organizer. Okay, so what were the causes and effects, and then what was the most important cause, and what was maybe a long-term or short-term effect. Okay, so you're looking for critical thinking here. Okay, comparison, again, you're looking at a topic, you're looking at similarities, differences, and then again, which ones are greater, the similarities or the differences. You need to make an argument. Continuity and change, why things change over time. So what was the turning point, or what change was more important than other changes? Again, that will show the historical thinking skills and your ability to answer the question. Okay. Always, as you're writing your essay, go back and look at the question and ask yourself, and am I answering all parts of the question? And then go back and add more evidence and just try to convince the reader that you know what you're writing about. These are some LEQ questions from past AP exams. I have there's 3 questions from 2004 and 3 from 2005. So again, look at the questions here from 2004. They sound the same, but they are from different time periods. This is from time period 1 to 3, from the middle, and then from the end of the curriculum. Okay, so evaluate the relative importance of the causes of conflict among Europeans and Native Americans from 1500 to 1763. Okay, so causation from these years. Focus on the years. Stay there. Okay, so if you don't feel very comfortable with early U.S. history, then maybe you want to do question 2. Okay, evaluate the relative importance of the causes of the growth of national culture in the United States from 1800 to 1848. So it's about national culture, the causes of national culture from these same periods. And then this one, 2000, this same 2024 LEQ, evaluate the relative importance of the effects of movements for social change from 1945 to 1980. Okay, so you feel very comfortable about the civil rights movement and the rise of the conservative movement, then you can actually write about this question here. Okay, so you choose one of the 3 questions. And then these are the ones from 2025. Again, you choose one. So choose the one that you feel stronger on. Okay, so read them carefully, and then you select the LEQ that you feel more comfortable. Ladies and gentlemen, well, thank you for your attention. Thank you for watching. Click like and share this video with other people that can benefit from this. You can do it. Good luck in your AP exams and stay strong. Study, study, study. Okay?